Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something absolutely fascinating: how our everyday interactions, both the really good ones and honestly the messy negative ones, literally shape a baby's developing brain. We're unpacking some incredible research that is going to completely reframe the beautiful, chaotic reality of raising a child. Let's get right into it. So, you might think you need expensive toys or fancy developmental programs to build a kid's brain, but no way. It turns out the absolute foundation of early brain development is built on really simple back-and-forth interactions. We're talking about those ordinary, everyday moments of playful connection. Yeah, literally just a game of peekaboo. And that brings us to the core theme for today. Parenting is absolutely not about perfection. It's about how we reconnect after those inevitable tough moments. There's a brilliant saying that the love is in the repair, because the goal isn't to never ever make a mistake. It's actually about embracing that cycle of messing up and making up, because that is the crucial tool for building a really resilient mind.
Section 1. Building the baby's brain.
Okay, think of brain building like playing a game of tennis, a concept researchers call serve and return. It works like this. When your baby points at a toy, well, that's the serve. You notice it and you support them with a big smile. Then give it a name, like, yes, that's a block. Step 4 is crucial. Take turns and just wait. Give them a second to babble back. Finally, practice endings and beginnings by letting them take the lead when they start to lose interest. This simple loop, it literally wires their little brain for a lifetime of learning.
To do this well, you kind of need to understand the 3 distinct levels of a baby's needs, which tells you exactly when to jump in and when to back off. First, if they're in pain or hungry, those are urgent needs. You gotta respond immediately. Second, if they're peacefully asleep or alert, they're content. You can totally just sit back and observe. But here's the tricky third one. Every single day, there will be fussy or fitful periods where their basic needs are totally met, but they're still restless. Understanding this third category is a total game changer. It stops you from panicking when your baby is just trying to figure out how to self-soothe.
Section 2. Babies absorb caregiver stress.
Now, you might be wondering, just how early does a baby actually pick up on your anxiety or your anger or just your general mood? I mean, if they can't understand your words yet, are they somehow immune to your stress?
Well, get this. The answer is 3 months. Yeah, surprisingly, babies can sense moods and even experience fear as early as 3 months old. And that's wild, because nearly half of all parents mistakenly believe this doesn't happen until around age 1. But babies are completely wired for survival. They are incredibly attuned into your facial expressions, your tone of voice, and even the physical tension in your body long before they ever speak their first word.
Okay, take a deep breath. Don't let that panic you, because the data actually offers some massive relief. It turns out that even the healthiest, most loving relationships are perfectly attuned only 30% of the time. You heard that right. The other 70% of the time, caregivers and babies are mismatched or they're actively working to come back together. And these small, manageable doses of mismatch are actually how kids learn that the world isn't going to perfectly track their every whim. It's the literal essence of building resilience.
Section 3. The impact of yelling.
So let's talk about those mismatched moments, specifically when we hit a wall and total exhaustion takes over. When an adult shouts, it essentially scrambles a baby's sensory input. It chronically activates their nervous system and makes their environment feel profoundly unsafe. Now, an occasional loss of patience, that just makes you human. But prolonged or frequent yelling raises a baby's stress hormones, and that can actually alter their fundamental attachment styles and emotional regulation down the road. A really good way to think about your interactions is splitting them into 2 buckets: horizontal and vertical. Horizontal exchanges, things like playing, negotiating, taking turns, they're egalitarian. They show mutual respect. On the flip side, vertical exchanges rely heavily on power and authority to force compliance. Think yelling or giving the silent treatment. These vertical tactics, they actively damage the fabric of your relationship. So what do you do when you're completely triggered? Well, when you feel utterly frustrated, you can use something called dyadic affect regulation. Fancy term, but it just means soothing yourself and the baby at the same time. You wrap the baby securely on your chest and physically take slow, deep breaths together to lower both of your heart rates. Or honestly, if you are truly at your breaking point, the absolute safest, healthiest thing you can do is just put your crying baby safely in a crib and go take a quick, guilt-free break in another room. This brings us to a massive emotional shift in how we view parenting. There's a profound idea that relationships shrink to the size of the field of repair. Fixing a relationship after a rupture is literally the most essential thing you can do. When a misstep happens, offering your child a bid for repair sends a crystal clear signal. Our relationship is valued above absolutely anything else.
Section 4. The art of repair.
So, what does an authentic repair actually look like in real life? Think of it as a practical toolkit, but crucially, one that is totally free of any added discipline. First, acknowledge their hurt from their perspective. Next, offer a simple, unadulterated "I'm sorry." You can give a brief explanation if it helps, but make sure it isn't just an excuse. Finally, express a really concrete intention to fix it next time. And remember, tacking on a lecture, like, "I'm sorry I yelled, but if you would just listen to me," that completely undermines the entire repair. To sum all this up, perfect parenting is a total myth. Those inevitable moments of disconnect are actually necessary for a child's development, provided we always take the time to authentically reconnect. Being perfect isn't just an impossible standard, it would actually deprive your kid of the manageable stress they desperately need to learn how to cope with a really complex world.
So with all this science in your back pocket, are you ready to view your next inevitable parenting misstep not as some huge failure, but as a beautiful opportunity to build your child's resilience? The ruptures are going to happen. That is just part of being human. But it's the repair that builds the brain, heals the heart, and deepens that bond. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep connecting, and most importantly, keep repairing.